Today we're reviewing the Harbor Freight Predator generator, which we've got right here. This is the 4375 or 3500 running watt generator. So it's got two 15 amp circuits, 120 volt right here. You've got two outlets with each of those circuits, and then you've got a 15 amp to 40 or 120 volt connection right here. So I've been testing this out for a little bit here, and what I've noticed, very easy to start up, which is nice. Pretty simple. There's not a lot of electronics on it or anything like that. It's pretty much just an engine and a generator, and in some ways that's really nice. It probably weighs, I would say, at least 50 or 60 pounds, so it is a little bit awkward to carry around. It's just big enough that it's not super easy with one person. You can definitely do it, but lifting it in and out of a truck kind of gets old after a while. But if you're only doing that once a day or once a weekend, no big deal. So we've got another video that shows you how to start this up, and pretty easy to start it up. Basically, you flip the on switch here, you make sure you've got your fuel on, and then you set the choke to start, and then this thing is ready to start up. Now, as far as some of the other features go here, you've got a 12 volt DC outlet, so if you want to connect something to 12 volt DC like you would have in your car, you can do that. You've got a DC circuit breaker. You just push to reset that. And what is nice is that these components, they all do have covers to keep any kind of moisture, rain, or anything like that out, as well as this switch is sealed here. So that is a nice feature. You've also got a ground here, and then you've got the actual circuit breakers right here for turning everything on or turning everything off. So that is really nice. Now, on the top of it, you can see it's got this frame, which just kind of protects the whole thing, makes it easier for throwing in a truck. You can also get wheels for this so that you can move it around a little bit easier. I actually just have it on a furniture dolly right now, but if you're going off-road with it, you might want to grab some kind of wheels for it. Here you've got your tank. It says gas only, 10% ethanol blend okay. Now, I always run rec fuel in generators and small gas units like chainsaws, and that's because if you get gas with it, normal gas from the pump that is not rec fuel, typically it will have some amount of ethanol in it. And what happens with ethanol fuel when you let it sit for a long time is that it soaks up water, and that water can gum up your injectors and or carburetor. So if you put in rec fuel, which has no ethanol in it, it's not going to soak up as much water. You don't have to worry about it as much. And I have found that it makes things run a little bit longer, a little bit easier, and with less maintenance in the long term. Now, rec fuel does cost a little bit more, and you have to kind of look for it. But anywhere that's got filling for boats usually has rec fuel, and a lot of small gas appliances or gas units like chainsaws use rec fuel also, or recommend rec fuel. Now, over here, we've got our gas full and empty gauge. So it's just a little bobber or something in there. You can see there's a red stripe that tells you how full it is, but you could also just open this up and see what we've got in there. Now, this says it's got up to a 16-hour runtime. I haven't run it for 16 hours straight, but I do tend to believe that. Now, down here, this is what I was talking about. This is our fuel shutoff, so it's off right now. You turn that on, and then you've got fuel going to it. Here is your choke position right here. So we've got it to run, but if you were going to start it, you just flip it over there. Nice, easy, positive click in order to do that. So you start it, and then you switch it over to run, and you're good to go. Now, when you are using this, you want to have the fuel on. When you're going to be storing it, you're not using it, turn that fuel to off, and once again, what that does is it prevents fuel from going down into the line, injectors, carburetor, and if you've got water in that fuel, it's going to keep it up here in the tank rather than down in the lines gumming everything up. So I recommend doing that. Now, if you've got ethanol-free fuel or rec fuel, you know, still a good idea to do this just because it keeps everything that's in the tank from out of there when you're not using it, and that's always a good idea. So recommend that as well. Here is your pull cord right here. Pretty easy to pull start. Usually 1 or 2 pulls gets this thing started. So let's pull it and see what happens here. Okay, it's started up. Now flip it over to run. Okay, great. There we go. Our generator started up, and to turn it off, all you need to do is flip that off. It's a 212 gasoline engine, CC. And what is nice, this is a Predator engine on the Predator generator. If the engine ever goes out, you can easily pick up one of these Predator engines from Harbor Freight, slap it on the generator, and you're good to go. So that is one thing that I like about this, is the parts interchangeability of this, that you could just get a new engine, keep the rest of the generator, and slap that on there, and you're good to go. Over here, you've got your air filter. Pretty easy to change. It's just got a little knob here. You open that up, you can see what's in there. Haven't had any issues with that. And then we'll take a look down at the front here. This is where you've got your oil check. You want to make sure you've got oil in there. That's also where you fill the oil up. And it's important to note that this does have a low oil alert on it, so it'll tell you when it's got low oil. Don't ever run it with no oil or low oil. And you would just refill it there. So that's your low oil alert right there. And pretty easy to fill up, as well as it won't start unless you've got oil in it. It does have a starting mechanism that doesn't allow it to start if you have really low oil. So that is important to note. Overall, been happy with this unit. I got this one used or refurbished, so pretty good deal on it. And it does what you need to do. The limitation is that it's only 15 amp. So if you need something more than 15 amp, you're going to have to go to a larger size generator. But for most tools, 15 amp is going to be just fine. And just limit the cord length, and that will limit the amount of resistance and allow you to get more out of what tools you are running with this generator. So if you have a 100-foot cord, that has more resistance than a 50-foot cord, and that is going to run the risk of blowing circuits more often than using a smaller cord. Not saying that a 100-foot cord will blow a circuit, just depends what you've got it running on there. But I've run stuff like circular saws off this, no problem. Air compressor off this, no problem. So it's worked fine for me. Pretty handy generator at the price point. Really hard to beat, because unless you're using a generator every day, you might not need to really make that investment. So for occasional use like camping or servicing a remote property that doesn't have any power to it, and you just need to run some tools, or maybe you're building a pole barn, this is an excellent generator. Or maybe you've got a farm where you need electricity occasionally in some remote corner of the property. This is a good generator to just throw in the truck. You can drive around wherever you need to, and you'll have power. So overall, in my experience, this Harbor Freight Predator generator has worked well for me. My biggest recommendation, if you are using any kind of generator or any kind of gas power tool outside, is to use rec fuel in that device. And it's just going to save you a lot of headaches and hassle. I know rec fuel is more expensive. However, in my experience, I have had far less maintenance issues using rec fuel than I have when I don't use rec fuel. And then you don't have to mess around as much. You're going to have this thing starting up right away, no issues, versus having to clean carbs, fuel system, whatever. Because it just happens that water gets into that fuel system from condensation, changing temperatures, stuff like that. And it just accumulates when you've got that ethanol in there. Or even worse, if it's cold and you get water in your fuel system, your fuel lines can clog up and freeze. So if you can prevent that by using rec fuel or ethanol-free fuel, I recommend that. But overall, this Harbor Freight Predator 4375 generator with 3,500 running watts has worked well for me. Good little utility generator. It's just a little bit heavier than some smaller generators, and it only has 15 amps. Those are the negatives I would have for it. But other than that, it's been reliable, it's worked well, and I haven't had any issues with it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. So let's pull it and see what happens here. Okay, it started up. Now flip it over to run.